Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well today. And I know this news is at this point a couple hours old, but I wanted some time for the previous video that I posted at noon to be up on its own. So I decided to let this one sit for a little bit. But it's time to talk about some of the announcements that the Seahawks made and also some of the things that our new coaching staff said earlier today, because there was a little bit of a press conference with officially new offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb. So let's take a look at some of this stuff. First, this is kind of the big one because this is something I've been talking about quite a bit over the last couple of days now, maybe even going back a couple of weeks. The Seahawks have made a decision on Geno Smith. He is going to stay on the roster. So what that means is that his $12.7 million injury guarantees will transform into full guarantees when he remains on the roster tomorrow. So technically, I guess they still could pull the rug out from under him, but that would be really mean. They're not going to do that. So Geno Smith is going to be on the roster tomorrow, which means his 2024 salary becomes effectively fully guaranteed. So this means a few different things, but the first thing that it means is that most likely you are looking at Geno Smith being the quarterback in 2024 for the Seattle Seahawks. Greg Bell has more on this over here, talking about how the 12.7 basically cancels out the 13.8 you would have saved if you had cut him. So at this point, cutting him saves you approximately $1 million, and you'd be on the hook to still pay Geno about $30 million. So that's the main takeaway from this announcement and the deadline that is approaching tomorrow. There is no more cutting or releasing, however you want to put it, of Geno Smith. Now, that's not to say the conversation is completely over here, and I'll get to that in 1 second. But one other thing that I want to talk about from the press conference earlier today, because most of it was pretty generic, most of it was pretty straightforward, just talking about how happy he is to be here, how cool it is to be able to stay in the same state, stay in the same area from where he was coaching the last 2 years, the typical stuff you'd expect from Grubb. But one other thing coming from these discussions is that there seems to be an affinity for Drew Lock with this coaching staff. So McDonald and Grubb have both talked about Drew Lock a little bit. Drew Lock, by the way, about to become a free agent. So there seems to be some degree of interest because Grubb was obviously pretty complimentary of Geno Smith when he was talking about him today, but he was also pretty complimentary of Drew Lock. So it sure sounds to me like there is going to be an effort on the part of this Seahawks front office and coaching staff to retain our quarterbacks from 2023. Keep Geno Smith and Drew Lock, which surprises me a little bit. But I will also acknowledge that this is not a very good free agency class for quarterbacks, and that Drew Lock, whatever his limitations may be, has proven that he can have some degree of success in the NFL, and as recently as last year, had some degree of success with this team. Not with this coaching staff, but with this team. So I can understand the desire to keep somebody with some degree of ability when, if you don't keep Drew Lock, your other options might be either a free agent quarterback who is just completely unable to bring anything positive to the table, or somebody in the draft who may be completely unprepared to play in 2024. So on that level, I guess I kind of get it. But yeah, there seems to be some desire to just roll it forward with this quarterback room. And I mean, I don't love it, but I get it. I do get it when you take a look at what's out there. I don't know what kind of money Drew Lock is going to want. I think it's going to be more than last year because he played this year. So you're looking at least $5 million, I think like 6 or 7, with incentives that could boost it up to like 10. I think you could be looking at something like that. Maybe a 5 and 5 would be the best case scenario, but that's a discussion for another time, and it's a discussion we've kind of already had on this channel. But anyway, Geno Smith cannot be cut anymore. However, he could be traded. And this is Jason OTC over the cap. He talks about this a little bit here. The Geno Smith trade window is basically about a month, if I'm understanding. I believe this is the 17th of March that he's talking about here. But he's basically saying they have a trade window through the 17th. And I don't think it's the 17th that is coming up in 2 days. That would be ridiculous. I'm pretty sure this is March 17th. So at that point, his roster bonus of almost $10 million kicks in, and the Seahawks cannot trade him anymore. Or at the very least, it would be very stupid to trade him then, because you already paid him the almost $10 million. You would trade him before the $10 million kicks in if you were going to trade him. Now, trading him is still on the table, and I think that's going to be a separate discussion. But we have basically a month here to look around and see if there are any moves that could be made there. Now, I have said for a little while now that releasing or cutting Geno Smith would be very irresponsible. It's giving away a valuable asset for nothing. And it's less than nothing, really, because you're still paying him most of his salary. You're just not having anything to show for it. If you are going to let Geno Smith go, and remember, in a trade, you still pay him most of his salary for 2024, you need to get something out of it. And you need to get something good. This is a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL. This is a good starting caliber quarterback in the NFL. This guy has had 2 straight seasons of a winning record with a terrible defense and a mostly really bad offensive line. So if you're going to move off of him, you need to get something out of it. So I'm happy that we're getting to this point, knowing that even if we do move off of Geno, which, for the record, I don't want to move off of Geno. I think he's the best that we can do right now, and probably is the best that we can do for a while. We need to get something good out of it. Again, that's a discussion I want to have later, but this is the new Geno Smith adjacent deadline. For the next month, there will be discussions of trading Geno Smith. And remember, if we trade him, we still owe him most of his contract. So any trade that you make is going to have to factor in the fact that you are still going to be paying him a majority of his 2024 money. All right, so that's the main news of today. The coaching staff came out and gave a vote of confidence of Geno. At the very least, they've committed some degree of finances to him, right? Like, even if they're doing this, planning to trade him, which I don't think they are, but even if they are, there's no guarantee a good trade manifests. So doing this is accepting the possibility that Geno Smith is very likely to be your starter in 2024. And Drew Lock sure seems like he's going to be sticking around. Or at the very least, we're going to make an effort to have him stick around, which I know will disappoint people who wanted to draft a quarterback. It's starting to look like that's just off the table, and we're not even really thinking about it. So people are going to have to make their peace with that. I have no problem doing it, but I know some people are going to struggle with it. But Geno and Drew look like they're back in town for one more year. One other little announcement. We got this from the Seahawks PR team. Devin Fitzsimmons has been added to the coaching staff, assistant special teams coach under Jay Harbaugh. He's a guy with a lot of experience in the NFL, been with the Panthers recently. I think he's got 10 years of coaching experience in the NFL. So always good to add those kinds of guys when you have a lot of younger, less experienced guys. But I don't know a ton about him, obviously, and assistant special teams coach is not going to have a huge say here. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks. Catch you guys in the stream later tonight with the Hawks Nest. And, yeah, let me know what you think.